Welcome to the Deucecast Extra. We are here on a Tuesday, finally on a. Were we here Tuesday last week? I don't know. I can't remember what we were doing last week. We're back to talk about Secret Invasion Ep4. Beloved, as in we beloved Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1, which we may get into later. By the way,
but nothing Secret Invasion.
And like we might do 5 minutes on Secret Invasion, and then the rest of the time, I just didn't want to advertise it. I wanted all those Secret Invasion fans to feel like they have an outlet, to feel like they have a place to go.
They're all here.
They're all here. Yeah, they're all right here. It's fair. It's fair. I don't even know where to go with this episode. It was 38 minutes long, which, to be fair, the director of the series did say that there was going to be some shorter episodes.
I
don't care about that.
I thought the episode was well paced. If I'll give it a positive, I thought it was pretty well paced.
I think it was well paced.
Yeah, the runtime doesn't. That's never necessarily a good or bad for me. I mean, back in the day, episodes of Alf were only 22 minutes long, and I loved all of those.
Yeah, and Perfect Strangers, those were about 22 minutes long.
A tight 22.
Yeah, exactly. So,
like She-Hulk.
Why do you gotta
like She-Hulk?
Like She-Hulk. Let's. I mean, we can dive into it. I mean, Garrison. I mean, anything in particular jump out at you about this episode? I mean, this was kind of a nothing burger to me, but I mean, maybe I missed something. So what did you think about it?
Well, the opening of the episode shows Talus's daughter coming back to life, which it's actually a little bit surprised by. I had seen people say that she had a wig and she was credited for other episodes and blah 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 blah. And anyway, there was some wig on set that had some other name, so they just speculated she would be coming back as a different person, or maybe the person's identity that she stole. But anyway. That wasn't the case. She came back through Extremis, so that we didn't see her get until the beginning of this episode.
Yeah, there was a little flashback sequence showing her going to that. I guess that was the doctor that was working on the project. She got a bunch of information from her so she could know how to use everything and give herself powers, I guess.
Yeah,
is what I gathered.
I'll be honest. My first impressions, thoughts, just to get that quickly out.
Yeah.
First 18 minutes of this episode, first 20 minutes of this episode, I was actually feeling like, okay, this is not bad. This may be the best episode of the show. Mm-hmm. And the sit down with the wife, the couple of sit downs with the wife we've had in 2012 and in present day, I actually kind of like that, and the poetry callbacks, I like that. Mm-hmm. The shooting scene was whatever. But then we get to the battlefield stuff, and I was just like, what? Okay. It seemed kind of out there. I don't know.
Roth, what about you?
Ended with a whimper.
Yeah, so I think I missed most of the Don Cheadle stuff from last week as well. He's not doing a good job of being a Skrull, like an acting job. I guess the direction was probably to be different than Rhodey, but that doesn't make any sense. If you're a Skrull, you're going to want to be as close to as possible.
Yeah.
Right.
He's cartoony.
Yeah, it's bad. It puts me off a little bit as well.
Yeah.
Red has harped on this point a lot about how the writers do not know how foreign relations work. They hear them say a few words in Russian. No question, it's the Russians.
Right. Yeah.
I just don't think that's how that would work.
Yeah.
And where the hell are they when they get attacked?
And I don't know very many tall black Russian
random
dudes
road
leading the squad.
No. Yeah, I mean,
it's not just a random road. It's a random road where you can see behind them where they landed a 747.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
On a rural, isolated airfield in the middle of nowhere. That's not how presidents travel.
Okay? No. It's also not how the island of England works.
England works.
That's not a very big country.
No.
Yeah, you fly your 747, and if you're there as the president on official diplomatic business, you fly into Heathrow.
Yeah. I just didn't. Yeah, I don't understand unless he was trying to be clandestine and land someplace that no one would. But it's hard to explain. It's hard to understand like what they're doing. I don't understand it, and why he was going to England. I didn't get that part either. I mean,
smooth over relations. Things are messy.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
general.
Yeah,
it's fine.
because World War III was almost started.
Yeah. Which is dumb. But
yeah,
right. World War III. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah,
that's a good question, Andrew.
Earl.
Where is Dr. Earl?
Yeah, Andrew. I don't know how much we should say. Maybe he is a Skrull. I don't know. He's just indisposed this evening. He could be watching, but he's having such a hard time this evening. He might not even be able to watch live. So I don't know.
He's fine. He'll be back next week.
Oh yeah, he's fine.
Yeah,
he's fine. Yeah.
He could probably use your prayers though.
No. Well, okay, yeah. All of us could use prayers.
No, I mean, yeah, just generally speaking.
Yeah.
Rhett, I mean, did you like anything in the episode?
Yeah, well, I rewatched it earlier today.
Only because I forced you to.
My better judgment.
You're contractually obligated.
Because I couldn't remember. I mean, I couldn't remember.
I know. I had to
it's just
rewatch
not.
it as well too.
It doesn't stick with me because it's just so mediocre to me. A few things that stood out to me. I liked the scene with Fury and his wife in their kitchen table.
Yeah.
But I don't like everything around it. And I don't mean just in this episode. I mean, whatever machinations have happened off camera to get the two of them together and there does not fit with my understanding of the Nick Fury character at all. I don't understand, like, when were they married? When he was killed in Winter Soldier, was she informed as the next of kin? Did she know? Like, did Shield know about this relationship?
No. I think this was an off the books thing.
Well, that doesn't make him a great that.
Well, he was trying to for protection purposes.
Everything about that relationship bothers me, and it's obviously it's tacked on now and had no foreshadowing or nothing like that. It's just there because these guys don't like writing within the rules that they have, and they just put whatever they want out there.
That's a tough question, Andrew.
But
that's difficult.
That's easy. Secret Invasion, but I enjoy watching She-Hulk more. Because it's so awful.
I hate watch. Yeah, I hate watch.
Yeah. That stood out. That bothered me quite a bit. The Rhodey stuff is like Jacob said, is just awful. It's just awful. The way he is acting. And I've been reading these interviews where they're like, we told Cheadle years ago that we were going to go this route with him. So if you go back, you can see, and that makes me worry.
No.
Back in Endgame, he was supposed to, like when he's having that conversation with Nebula, and she's like, I wasn't always like that. And he says, I wasn't either. And we're supposed to mean, he's got his leg problem, right? But now are they going to retroactively say, he was talking about how he's a Skrull, blah, blah, blah. Well, that sucks. Okay, that's just crap.
Yeah.
I hate that. And everything with the president was the worst, the most. It's hard. I don't know how to articulate this without just being a douche about it, because it sounds real petty, but like it's this childlike writing, this immature, no understanding of the real world. I know that's not the real world, but
it makes me root for the studios and the strikes.
Yes, like these are reference points in the real world. They're like signposts that, like, you relate to this. You know what the president is and who that and how that is and how this is a big deal. They get us there with that, but then they blow it when we get there. I hate all that president stuff. That's not how any of that could possibly work. And if your story requires a such stupidity to get from one plot point to the other, well, it's just not a good story.
Right.
And I don't think this is a good story for those reasons. And I just became more and more frustrated throughout the episode. It's not the absolute worst thing I've ever seen broadcast. It's not the worst thing in the MCU. Yeah. It's not the worst thing about phase 4 and 5. But it's not good. And it's not it's not making the MCU better. It's not adding on elements that we need and want and like and can build off of. It is only filler nonsense that retroactively makes things worse and then puts you in a hole. Now, if you are to, you can't write around some of this stuff going forward. Like this is going to, it's retro.
Well, I think they'll tie it up in a knot.
Inform going forward, and I think that's bad for the MCU.
Well, I think that look, we've got 2 more episodes left. They could just like end the Secret Invasion storyline in 2 episodes. They could just like
I know,
boom,
but all these things are
they go out on another planet
to inform later things, later events. I mean, the things that will happen here will.
Well, yeah, I mean, they did say some of the stuff that happens in Secret Invasion will reflect in the Marvels,
of course,
I guess.
Because that's the nature of a shared universe. I mean, everything that happens in any of these informs the next and the next and the next. And that's just not good.
And it's go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that, I saw in the press today, and who knows how true it is, but Iger coming out saying that he wants Disney to slow down with Marvel and Star Wars. And he wants to get back to being Disney Studios, which, I mean, maybe that means more Pirates of the Caribbean. Maybe that's what he's alluding to, that he's going to go back to some of that. And pull back on Marvel, and how do you think that makes Feige and Kathleen Kennedy feel? Like, we're not going to get to continue having 3 movies a year, and blah blah blah. I mean, who knows what's going?
Well,
the strikes are not helping.
Conversations that are happening among all of them. I mean, they must know they don't exist in a vacuum. Kevin Feige must know that the MCU has not been well received for the last couple of years. Kathleen Kennedy, unless she has surrounded herself with such an echo chamber, she has to understand that the state of Star Wars is bad. I mean, on earnings calls, she must understand that things are not going well from a merchandising standpoint, from a box office standpoint, from a viewership standpoint, from a revenue standpoint. She's got to know that. And maybe ILM is still making pretty good bank. Maybe Skywalker Sound is making pretty good bank. And she's getting more credit than she deserves for those. Maybe, but I don't think this is a surprise to any of them to hear him come out and say we have to change our approach a little bit because this is diluted. The quality, it's much more quantity than quality. And nobody really wants that. I mean, it's good on paper when you say, oh, I want more Star Wars. Just give me a constant stream of Star Wars. Well, not if it's the Star Wars we're getting. Not if it's not good. If you give me a high-level product, I want a lot of it. Like if
I'm so glad the Acolyte's coming next. I mean, that's going to be
like
fantastic.
Let me use a fillet analogy. I was at a steakhouse a while back. They have an 8-ounce fillet and a 5-ounce fillet. I couldn't decide which one I wanted. Like, do I want all of an 8-ounce or will I be good with the 5-ounce? I couldn't decide. I got them both. That's 13 ounces of fillet. Okay. And it was delicious. I could eat all of that fillet, keep the fillet coming, but I wouldn't have ordered 2 sirloins because those aren't very good. Right.
Going in, those aren't good.
I want steak constantly, but only if it's good steak.
Only if it's the best quality steak.
Yes.
Like Andor. That's a good steak.
Very much enjoy a baseball cut top sirloin, for the record.
Okay.
That's my go-to steak.
Really?
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, according to Chef Melissa, we all need to be trying hanger steak.
Hanger steak's good.
I have not found a place in town that has that. So
my reasoning for it is kind of dumb.
Helen had it.
Maybe they do. I don't know.
It's my friend that's a rancher. I've actually got.
Is he a good rancher?
He is good at ranching.
Okay, there you go. Okay.
That's what he gets when we go to a steakhouse. He gets a baseball cut top sirloin. It's the ranch steak.
You got to get that like medium rare.
Yeah,
you got to
medium rare. Yeah,
yeah. You can't go. Yeah, you can't do medium with that. Okay, all right. Okay, that's fair. Well, yeah. I mean, I am concerned with because the Marvels is not going to do well. Melissa approves of your baseball cut top sirloin. Thank you, Chef Melissa. I mean, Garrison, talk us off of the ledge here. I mean, our Loki's going to be good, right?
I mean, I think so.
Yeah.
I am genuinely excited about Loki season 2. But I feel like you guys are underrating the Citizen Kane of the Marvel Universe over here. I mean, Secret Invasion. I mean, this is going to go down as one of the most influential shows of all time.
Holy smokes.
No, just kidding.
What are you reading off of? You get your copy
Sorry,
faxed over
actually,
from Disney?
No, he got his copy faxed over from Earl. That's
Sorry.
where he got his.
I told you to pray for him.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, talking about Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1.
Oh, you're already wanting to transition to
I'm
that.
not done with the Secret Invasion pile of crap yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
One thing that struck me was the scene with his wife.
Okay. Which
kitchen
one?
table.
2012. Okay, kitchen table.
No, current day.
Okay.
So at some point he asks her, why did you choose this form? Now they have been together for how many decades? It's like they don't have conversations off camera, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, have you gone all this time and you are just now asking, how did you come to this form? Have they not sat around at night and had a talk about anything ever over the last several decades where that might have come up? It's just this little bottle of the only thing that ever happens to these characters happens right there on screen for you to see, and they have no development, no growth, no experience other than what we can think of to put on the page right here. There's no backstory. There's nothing understood about relationships. It's just this force feeding you little bits of data in the most blatant, immature, unprofessional way a writer can do. And that's what we get out of this show. And the more I see of it, the more it just makes me angry, because not everything is like that. And I like the MCU, and I like things like Star Wars, and I want them to be at worst like average. And they can't even hit that threshold anymore because everything is so weakly done.
Mm-hmm.
He's right.
Yeah. By Red. Yeah. I mean, I'm always hoping for things to come around in episode 5 and 6.
They don't.
I just don't.
They don't. They never do.
I don't know.
I'll give you my positive from
Did
this
Book of Boba
episode.
Fett get better? I mean, Book of Boba Fett got
of
better
Boba Fett
only
was-
because it went to a totally different show altogether.
No.
And it got better briefly.
Oh,
And
yes,
then
it did.
came back to the show, and you've got the guy spinning around. It's just terrible again.
Those Mando episodes were brilliant.
Yeah,
Those are better. Those are better than season 3.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Brian, now to be fair, Brian, you did not watch Captain Marvel, so you did go in completely blind.
You
That's
don't need Captain Marvel for this crap.
No.
Well, it explains the scrolls and
I mean,
a little bit.
you know who
better.
Talos
Talos
is,
is,
but
If you watched Spider-Man, what was the only other thing? Yeah, I mean, Talos was only in one other thing, but I don't think. But
Yeah, that was a bit part. That was also kind of stupid. Sony should have said no to all of that. Said, nah, you keep that junk out of our Spider-Man.
Sony loved that though. That's a secret that people don't, I think, understand. Sony loved that stuff. They were the ones who put in the contract, give us the MCU characters, or we don't make these Spider-Man films.
Yeah.
There has to be crossover in those films.
Well,
Sony
all
did
the
that.
Spider-Man movies feel more Sony than Marvel to me. Like there's these elements of like, especially that middle one with the middle one. I thought Far From Home felt really Sony to me, with just kind of the structure. It's hard to. I know that's this vague.
I mean, it's not Morbius Sony or Venom Sony.
Yeah,
it's better than that.
It feels less like the MCU than the MCU movies do.
I mean, I'll say this. I think they just go all out for Spider-Man. I think that's the real difference. The creative team is hired by both Kevin and Amy Pascal, which is kind of both sides of the coin there.
Yeah, right.
They have the input on who gets to write and direct those films. So, yeah.
They're good. They always feel they feel structurally different to me, and there's a different. They look different, and there's just to me that they always they stick out, and not necessarily in a bad way. It just they don't feel like mainline MCU.
Yeah,
or I guess maybe they're not. But
so Roth, you said you had something that you wanted to say that was good about the episode.
One of the few things I liked this episode was Groot's arm on Gravik. I thought that worked. And it kind of surprised me. I knew it would be coming at some point, but it kind of surprised me.
Yeah, it actually looked okay. It looked okay.
That effect was terrible.
That effect at the end got really janky.
Yeah, real janky.
The effects weren't great, but I liked the idea of it.
The idea of it, yeah.
And I'm not. It's okay. It's okay to overlook some effects like that. I mean, I understand it's a TV show. It's a quick shot.
Yeah,
you know it in your brain. It's not happening, right? So,
sure.
I don't mind that, but it was a little janky. Groot, like I don't. That's a weird choice. I don't know. Is that anything from the comics? Is there any precedent for that being part of this Super Skrull?
Well, the Super Skrull concept is probably the only thing,
right? But I don't.
Well, the Super Skrull concept's based on the Fantastic Four powers, and I think that's supposed to replace Reed Richards.
Yeah, that's okay. You know? That's okay. Yeah, and that's fine.
They had to do something.
Probably like the least about this series so far is that if Talos stays dead, that's 2 relatively big deaths, very unceremoniously.
Right.
Yeah,
Maria Hill and Talos.
Worst executed of the deaths so far.
Like it just kind of happens, and it just is done, and you just move on. And I didn't like it. It didn't make me feel anything because I like Ben Mendelsohn a lot. He's like a great actor, and I just don't really care.
Well, it was not helped by that scene, by just the structure of the scene. It was a poorly done scene.
Let him go, put him down.
It was weirdly, overall the episode pacing was okay, but that scene was weirdly paced where there was a lot of downtime and like these gaps in where people can just stand upright in the open and have a quick conversation, and everything kind of stops around them, and he can slowly beat on the, and then he could wind it up and hit the window again, and then that was drawn out in this weird way. So that's why that took away for me from his death or apparent death, because the tension was real start and stop through that whole thing. And I don't think it served him. I don't think it served him well. I also don't think he's necessarily dead. Maybe I don't have anything up. I don't know.
It was a pretty vicious stabbing, but
kind of hope he's not, because I don't.
It was
think that
upper
was a good
body.
way to
I
go
guess.
out.
I don't know.
And I think, and just like you kind of knew Gaia wasn't going to die because his daughter, and there's no dramatics if she dies when he's when they're apart or whatever, right?
Let's talk about the bench scene with them.
Yes,
I have a problem with how she is still not willing to help after everything that she's been through.
Yes, and I also have a problem with him being an idiot. They'll know our heart.
Yeah.
Also,
no, we won't.
The planet has the Asgardians live on Earth. They have a whole colony that's a tourist trap, infinity cones and all.
Right.
And, has nobody thought, well, what if we gave you guys something similar to that? Is that is that doable? Can we introduce? Can we have a talk about that? And they're like, nobody will accept us. Well, we like the Asgardians fine.
Yeah. I do think shape-shifting aliens, I think at least in the Marvel universe, I think they would freak people out enough that there would be some issues with the public. But you slowly integrate them in. I mean, that's
Well, the Asgardians should frighten them too, because one of them is equal to dozens and dozens of regular people. I mean, they could take over the planet with that group if they wanted. But
he protects them. And these guys are acting like terrorists now, but
it's not a good look for them now, certainly. But early on, that could have been handled.
It could have.
So the bench scene, another thing that really, so they finish their conversation, and then she walks away, and he says, Gaia. He calls after her, Gaia, that he wanted to continue to talk, and the shot is her walking in a field that's about a quarter mile to the tree line, and there's nothing else around. And he's calling her. She's 15 feet away. Gaia, dude. And then it cuts to another scene. Just walk over there, right? Like you can simply walk over there to her. They went for the blocking and this shot, and it doesn't make any sense in context for that conversation to end there. And then she walks silently for a quarter mile away from him with him hollering. Like it none of that none of that makes sense. It's just this sloppily thrown together nothing. It's just a nothing burger.
The series does feel like it was put together quickly, but it wasn't. So that's what doesn't make sense.
In fact, it was massively reshot.
Massively reshot
during production. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it shows. I don't know. I honestly don't know what's going. I'm unfamiliar with the creative team. When you look up their stuff on IMDb, it's underwhelming. I mean, and so I don't know how these people got this job to make this show. I mean, it's just, I don't know. At least with the other shows had creative teams that were interesting.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no, but also, I'm not a huge fan of some of the creative teams that have been in some of the Marvel shows, but I've been proven wrong on some of those as well. But yeah, it's this thing of you've got like 20 different projects now, and they all want to hire these kind of up and comers and all these different in the indie realms because, for one thing, they can bring
cheap.
but for one thing, for the press, the forward facing thing that you'll bring up is that they'll bring fresh new ideas to this universe. It's what you hope. But yes, they'll also be cheaper. They'll also be usually more willing to take orders, basically. I mean, notes. That's what I meant. Yeah,
notes.
Notes from the studio on what to do in the story, and more willing to take on someone else's story and write that story than write their own story. But yeah.
Well,
so that's why I think you've got what you've got in the Marvel Universe now, and then there are a lot of auteurs who don't want to touch the Marvel Universe, which I think is kind of stupid
especially a television show. I mean, they're not going to slum it on a Disney Plus show.
Yeah, well, Prestige TV, right?
But you can hire Prestige TV guys. I mean, too. Well, I mean, but then you're talking about raising the budget on these things already. So
and the budget's already stupid.
Yeah, $212 for Secret Invasion, by the way. One of the cheaper Disney Plus shows.
Yeah, I mean that's not, but it looks it. It looks
does kind of look it. I mean, which is unfortunate.
You had that one scene with a lot of extras in Moscow or whatever at the beginning, and that one was pretty well shot, I guess, from a budget standpoint. But these last couple of episodes have just looked the part
sparse, very sparse.
Like that motorcade is an embarrassment. Like if you can't pull that off, then you ride around it. You do something else. You can't have that because that's not how it works. You can't have helicopters attack them. There's nothing in the air for 100 miles around the president's airplane, wherever it is.
I just don't think this should have been a show. I mean, this should have been a movie where you attach some bigger stars. Give it a bit more weight, but also don't pull the whole this guy that you've been following for this many years.
Right.
I think it's such a stupid trapping.
It'd be tighter.
It's unfortunate.
You hold it down to 2 hours and 20 minutes, and it'd be a lot tighter than the 5 hours we're going to get out of this show, probably.
Yeah. And it is unfortunate, Garrison, because it is like a huge comic book story. I mean, it's like a major storyline.
Yeah, but then, but the ultimate reveal is like, oh, Jessica Drew, the character you really don't care about that much, has been a Skrull queen this entire decades.
Some things work on the page in comics with the splash pages and the colors and the thought bubbles and the editor's notes and all that don't work as well on the screen. And
I agree, Rhett, but I think you can translate it to the screen.
Well, and a lot of it has, but that's why, like, if you try too hard to bring too much of the comic stuff in, I don't think it works. Like I thought they did good early in the MCU by grounding everything a little bit. Like even Thor.
Well, and you can probably credit
silly
Nolan
Thor
for that a little bit.
They cut out the things that don't work, like the silly secret identity, the Donald Blake or whatever secret identity stuff.
Well, which is just Clark Kent is what it is,
right?
He
gains the power when he gets the thing, right? I thought it was, I can't remember, but it was a little bit over the years. But
yes, but his love interest is basically Lois in the comics when he's Donald Blake. It's the same love story where she loves Thor and not him. And
right. So all that, just like they've done good so far of cutting out the stuff that doesn't translate well. Changing the story to accommodate the world that they have built, and they've gotten away from that. They've gotten. It's not even that it's too fantastical. It's just like this one is just really dumb, and this idea of the
it's dumb and it's dull.
Don't work as well in the MCU that you have built as that did in the comics. You haven't planted enough seeds to make this really meaningful. And if you had started in 2012 planting these seeds, then it would work better. But they didn't.
Yeah.
And it's just,
Yeah. Maybe they're doing this on purpose because they want to make Miss Marvel looks so much better than it actually was by making like She-Hulk and Secret Invasion not good at all.
They're not making a worse show to make their bad shows look better. I don't think when they're making them they know they're bad, and that's part of the problem. These people don't recognize quality anymore.
I will say a lot of films and shows come together in the edit, and it is hard to tell when you're making it whether or not it really does work. But it's tough. The writing is it's very interesting.
Well, I think for your in the edit, right? I mean, I think when they were making that, everybody was
Marshall Lucas saved Star Wars,
and then it ended up being cut together into something usable, and I think the timelines are messed up now. Like there's just so much they have to crank out. But then Oppenheimer was shot in 57 days.
Yeah. Well, that's Nolan comes in under budget pretty. Yeah. I mean, that's like a thing he does. So.
Yeah. I think he does it just to show that it can be done. I mean, like everybody else doesn't do it, but yes, Brian, that's right. Nobody is staying up till 2 a.m.
And the ratings, fantastic movie, by the way. Nobody.
The ratings.
Oh, we can transition to that now.
Oh, okay.
My dad watched Nobody recently, and I went over and he was like, "Dude, have you seen this show, Nobody?" I'm like, "This show? Oh, movie.
I wish
this is the movie.
Movie. Yes, I have seen that movie, Nobody. It's not a show."
Many years ago, my boss at work, where I was working, then came up to me and he, in hushed tones, he said, "Hey, have you seen this Office Space movie?" Yeah, I mean, I had. This was like 10 years after it came out. I'm like, yeah, I've seen it. He was so like it was.
Brett,
he thought he was really on the cutting edge of things that having seen it.
Yeah,
Brett, that's when you turned him. You're like, and that's why you better give me cake.
That's right.
Or I burn the building down.
Or burn the building down. Okay, let's do it. Look, it wasn't advertised, but how can we not talk about Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1? I mean, we've got Garrison giddy like a schoolgirl over there. I mean, how many times have you seen this thing now? 4?
I've seen it 4 times. 4 fantastic times at the multiplex. Traveling an hour to Pooler, Georgia to see it on Sunday.
Yes.
Because I had to see it on Sunday afternoon. I had to be the first to see it. Walmart see it first.
Walmart see it first.
Yeah. At the Royal Cinemas, which has the world's tallest IMAX screen. It was not on the world's tallest IMAX screen, sadly. That would have been really cool. But the theater was good. It was nice, and I'm going to travel up there to see Oppenheimer, I think, next weekend.
But that's on the world's tallest IMAX screen, right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
So
sir.
what version will that be then? I mean, will that be?
It's a laser IMAX, so it's got the 143. It's the digital 143 instead of the film 143. So it's like the number 2 thing you'd want. It's not the number 1.
There's
only
Brian,
30 theaters in the world showing the film. So
Brian one-upped you a little bit on Mission Impossible, though. He went to the Smithsonian IMAX 70mm dual laser. He flew to Washington D.C. I'm sure he was there for work, but still,
just for it. Look, I thought driving 2.5 hours to see Return of the Jedi was dedication. Flying to D.C. is dedication.
Yes. Oh, trust me. I mean, if I had like F me money, I'd fly all over to see on the best IMAX stuff.
I'd go to the Chinese theater and see
I would
stuff,
just have one.
Just have one installed in whatever city you live in.
Yes.
I would like to see it project at the Trinity test site, projected onto the side of a mushroom.
Los Alamos. I want to see it at Los Alamos on a little house in Los Alamos projected on there.
So I don't want to go super long on this, guys. I know we could, But I do want to watch a movie or something tonight, so I don't want to go.
I think I'm going to watch MI3 tonight.
Yeah, that's be good. I'm in the middle of a Guy Ritchie movie.
Have you ever seen MI3?
I've seen all of them. I just don't remember any of them.
Oh.
Yeah.
And now that I've seen MI2 again, I wish that I didn't remember MI2
you need to cleanse your palate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love the cold open for MI3 with Philip Seymour Hoffman holding the gun to Julia's head.
And this is the helicopter one, right? Where they're going in between.
That's where Felicity or whatever her name is.
Mm-hmm.
Her eye goes.
Felicity. I can't ever remember her name either.
The girl from
Carrie Russell.
Carrie Russell. Yeah.
Star Wars.
The girl from Star Wars. Yeah, I'm sure she wants to be
Rise of
known for that
Skywalker
character. Yeah. All right, so let's dive into this. I don't even know where to start with it. Let's start with cold open. It was good. I like
the Sevastopol.
Sevastopol? Is that
the city on the
city in Crimea? Yeah, of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
The city.
What does it unlock in Crimea, though? I mean,
Now, were they in a submarine or submersible?
It's a submarine.
That was a sub. That was the old.
They kept saying submersible.
Yeah, that's a real sub.
Yeah,
it was good.
So here's some interesting information. Before Top Gun Maverick came out, there was a hit piece put out in the Hollywood Reporter by some clearly disgruntled Paramount guys that really didn't like the fact that Tom Cruise came in the offices and bullied them into getting a submarine scene for Mission Impossible 8. This scene was meant for 8 originally, and they decided to put it in the cold open of 7. I think it works way better as a cold open of 7.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think
because I like
the setup,
displaying the entity and how dangerous he is by blowing up that submarine and showing them a fake sub across the way, 15,000 meters, then 10,000 meters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I also loved the clear Hunt for Red October inspiration.
Yeah.
Where it switches to English.
The language. Yeah, I was going to say that. The transition.
Oh, they did. I didn't even catch it. I've only seen it the once.
Out of Russian to English is great.
That's the way you do it.
Yeah,
I mean, that is the best way.
We can understand as an audience what's happening. And
that way Sean Connery can speak in Sean Connery. Yeah. I'm a Russian.
Well, and we dumb illiterate Americans don't have to read anything.
Mm-hmm.
Right, exactly.
Damn straight.
It's a long cold open. That's a lot of reading.
Constructed like Indiana Jones 5, but did everything a whole lot better. Like this is exactly what 5 should have been and could have been. With a few minor changes. I mean, you do have an older protagonist. It's okay to let that inform some of your action scenes better.
Yeah.
But this one had a lot of almost beat for beat at times.
I think Grace's Helena done way better.
Way better.
And I mentioned at the time, I said Haley Atwell could do Helena. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, just prove my point on screen.
Okay.
And she was flawed, like a flawed character. She did She did good things. She did bad things. She failed.
That's something she brought to the role. She came into the role and said, I don't want to be perfect at everything. Like I see some of these other female heroes do. I want to have faults and things I'm very good at, but faults.
She was perfect at like running, jumping. I thought was just very good.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff.
She pickpocketed my heart for sure.
Esai Morales, surprisingly good. If you look at
that on him in that film, I mean,
if you look at that guy's IMDb profile, this is surprising. Like he's good. He's good in this.
You'll hear some about him tomorrow.
Yes, we will talk. We did talk about him, didn't we? For reasons.
I didn't know Esai had that voice. I'm going to keep harping on this. So I was
I was surprised. Like when I saw that he was in the cast, I was like, the B movie actor Esai Morales is your villain.
And originally Nicholas Hoult was the villain.
Right.
They retooled the plot because Nicholas Hoult was going to be a young tech guy, we think.
Yeah, initially. Probably. Yeah,
which would make sense. He had to drop out to do The Great, and lost out on a few other roles doing that. But Now Isai is now deeply tied to Ethan's past, which is intriguing because I really want to know more about that flashback.
We'll get more, I'm sure.
We didn't know about any of that beforehand, right?
Nope.
Correct.
Okay,
that's all flashback.
Good.
Something
See,
we never.
That was part of the reason why I wanted to be able to watch all of them, because like during it, I was like, I wonder which movie some of this was in.
Missions are mostly self-contained.
Okay,
even the McQuarrie films, which I think are more referential and more callbacks and stuff like that, it's still self-contained within those films.
Even a part 1 of 2 is kind of self-contained. I mean,
it's the best. I'm not saying it's the best movie part 1 of the year, but I'm saying in terms of how it does a part 1, I think it's better than Across the Spider-Verse, but I know some people may disagree.
Yeah. Across the Spider-Verse frustrated a lot of people with that.
It handles the part 1 way better than that or Fast X. Way better.
Way better than Fast X.
And look, I freaking loved her in this movie also.
Dude.
I love that she didn't speak until that very last scene. I really like that.
She just maniacally laughed.
She was really good in it.
She said the "see you soon" really quiet at the party, but that was about it.
Oh, I forgot.
What's going on, Ted?
But she whispered that to Ethan.
Yeah, it was all just whispers, though. I mean, but and I like that she's. I guess we need to say we are going full spoilers on this, guys. Obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad she's not dead. So that's cool.
Yeah, well, she's got a pulse.
At the very end, I've got a pulse.
The interesting thing about that is I'm a little worried about that one element because it's like, I mean, we saw her this whole film. She was a really sadistic villain. And yes, I liked her turn at the end where she goes and helps the hero, but I kind of don't want to see her become a good guy because she seemed really bad.
Well, I think that she has to replace Rebecca Ferguson's character as the next person.
They don't have to. I mean,
they all have.
It was a little bit of an unearned turn, I thought, but
I don't know.
Like they set it up by saying, that like it was going to happen, like they had already worked out the math and it was going to happen anyway, and that's a little bit of a cheat to get her to do it. When I don't think it was totally earned, but I mean, it's fine.
She was surprised that Ethan didn't kill her, and so that kind of
I don't think
in her world that's a big deal.
I don't think Gabriel knew that she was going to turn until he was on the train and got the information fed to him by the entity. Now, here's an interesting theory I'm going to put forward. That box, I don't know if I sent this to you, Mikey, but the box he's in on the train, when he's in the box on the train, which is clearly feeding him oxygen to be able to stay alive, but it also has an entity clearly on the mask, an entity hovering in the middle of like a screen on the mask. I think that's a mask that's also feeding him data on what's going to happen when the train and different scenarios. And my headcanon would be like an eagle eye type thing, which would have him kind of VR it, which would be kind of cool, but it really doesn't matter. But I think it's feeding him info on the different scenarios that could happen on the train, and that was one of them that he got at the time.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry, I could say so much about this film.
No, I mean, and like Brian, I'm totally with you on this. I loved that scene, and I wanted, unlike the tuk tuk, I wanted more of this. I wanted more.
Well, it brought the levity.
There was levity. There were character moments. It changed up some of the nature of the action. I mean, it introduced different elements here and there. It was not just drawn out.
Haley Atwell was making like really bad mistakes while driving, and there was character and color to it, where Indy did not really have much of that.
That whole part where they're handcuffed and he's not able to like shift the car into the right gear because his hands are like, that was so well done, and like it's just like even that as a stunt. That's not like a risky stunt, but the way they were able to choreograph it was just fantastic.
It's thoughtful.
And
they put care into that. Well, what if we were in this situation? What can we do with this instead of writing through the situations? They write into them. I mean, does that make any sense? Like they really use.
That's McQuarrie. That's McQuarrie. Yeah.
And I love
he's a pro.
Yeah. I love their commitment to as real as possible. Since like Ghost Protocol, I mean, if we can do it for real, we're gonna do it for real. And then the skydiving scene we had in Fallout, we saw the clouds there, the lightning storm that was added digitally because you can't actually have people skydive in the lightning storms. I'm fine with that, but doing as much real, as much practical as possible. It really elevates the film. You compare that Mission Impossible $290 million budget to Indy's $290 million budget.
You see it on the screen.
You see a massive difference.
Yeah,
and it's part of that is because they stick to as much practical as possible, but it's also I think McQuarrie's directing better right now than Mangold was this year at least.
Yeah. I mean, I would say so. Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I think I think it's a gutsy move to make your main villain AI. Yeah, that could have gone really wrong, and it didn't. I mean,
as the resident mega Light the Fuse fan, podcast fan of this podcast, something really interesting about that was originally going to be the villain for the second movie, Oliver Stone's Mission Impossible 2.
Oh, back in the day.
A supercomputer that goes and is like hunting down Ethan, Hunt, and the script was terrible, and I think they got the script on the show and they read it, and it was really bad. But one thing I did learn about that on this press tour was that McQuarrie apparently was called in to potentially write one of the drafts of that script. I don't know that he ever did, but he was brought on board for that film. And so I wonder if that's always kind of been in the... Yeah. I wonder if that was always in the back of his head because of that. He was like, hey, this AI thing's becoming more real, and people are going to be able to buy into it more, and I could write a better script than the one that was out there at the time.
And we've got a pretty good catalog in media of that now. Westworld did it. They do it all over the place. I mean, Terminator's been doing it for a long time. You get a lot. People know that language now. The language of AI and the word algorithm and all this predictive stuff. They accept that as possible now because we see some of it in our real life. So it came at exactly the right time to have that villain be as prominent as it was and hit home a little bit where you have, they kind of said it in dialogue. Now this movie throws a lot of dialogue at you. It throws a lot of exposition at you in buckets. It's never boring. It's never tedious, but it's a lot to take in. And there was early on, they mentioned, go ahead.
Sorry, I just want to address a comment. Can we highlight Ted's comment?
Oh, which one? Indy, that one?
No, the Force
the most recent.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to say that came from a Forbes article where they pulled tax returns. And one thing that Hollywood famously does with their taxes is not underreport. With their taxes, they overreport for Hollywood accounting, so they won't have to pay people back end. So they can say that a film was never profitable. So I don't believe the 550 figure. It may have been more, but I don't believe the 550.
I've seen.
Yeah, I don't believe that either. That would be ridiculous.
But I think that is a part of Disney and Lucasfilm going, oh, this film never made a profit. You can't get your back end points on that.
Well, that could be.
That's
Scum Studio.
That's Hollywood.
But some of the dialogue talked about the entity, it has the dirt on now almost everyone in the world, right? Like it's everywhere digitally. It knows all the things that you're doing in your DMs. It knows it knows where you spend your money. It knows who you talk to, and it's got dirt on everybody. It's got dirt on government officials. It's got dirt on corporate officials. And they said that in dialogue, and it went by really fast, and they didn't really dwell on it. But you hear that, and it triggers. Like we have an understanding that that's possible in our real world, right? And that's pretty menacing in that, if your data is everything about you now, and if that is used, if that's weaponized against you, you're screwed.
Pretty much.
The whole world is screwed now.
Yeah.
If they don't stop this thing.
And look, ChatGPT is not the same thing as this, but the explosion of ChatGPT at the end of the last year created a lot of conversations around the future of AI, which brought this film to a very almost prescient forefront of being like, they wrote this 3 years ago,
right
before all this stuff exploded, and they hit at about probably the right time you could hit for this film. In terms of the discussion of AI.
Ironically, they used ChatGPT to write the screenplay, so that was
gonna leak some industry secrets here for you. In radio, we had a massive firing of people in January of 2020 at iHeart, and the people who were firing people were told to tell the people that were being fired. So this is not like a massive secret. This is told to the people being fired that you were being fired because guess what? We're making great new innovations in the field of AI. We're going to replace you with AI. Isn't that exciting?
Oh, that makes me feel better. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's creepy.
This has been brewing for a little bit, and then this film started. It was supposed to start filming in March of 2020 that year, and then it got shut down. And
Brian makes a good point here because they're often forgotten about as like they've been around together for a while. But Peg, I agree. I think
I feel like McQuarrie's brought them more to the forefront. Bird's film Ghost Protocol brought Benji into the field, but Rames didn't even get in the film until he had like a 30-second cameo at the end, which he got paid millions for, by the way. So good for that man. Yeah,
good for him.
He makes big money off these films, sitting down and typing on a computer, which that's great for him.
I like those characters, and they do them well. But with them, especially in this movie, I felt a little bit of COVID impact. Like they weren't always in the same room. Like they were. It kept them kind of separate a lot of times because everybody just wasn't all together all the time.
They're working on two separate computers.
Rames kind of disappeared for he's like, I got to check out, I got to do some work, and he's just gone. Like he couldn't be part of the shoot. Is what it
could be
happened probably. I felt that a little bit. It didn't ruin the movie. It's interesting if you know the time frame that all that happened, you pick up on it.
But I think McQuarrie does a good job of hiding some of the code stuff by literally just committing to the bit of I'm gonna also say that this film was super inspired by Brian De Palma, and everything's going to be a super close-up Dutch angle on when I can do it, and so that it still works in the Mission Impossible vein because there's precedent for that in the series, and it feels very De Palma inspired. I love the shot where they're looking at the phone, Haley and Tom looking at the phone, and they're like in the frame, like totally crooked. It's a Dutch angle of them looking at a phone.
Yeah, that's so good.
No, I love that. It's overindulgence, but I love what McQuarrie's doing with the series, where he tries to make. He knows that the people that came before him, there were 5 different directors in the series. The people that came before them gave their own flares, and he's decided with every film of his that he's going to make it feel like it was made by a different filmmaker. And I like that. Although I hope Dead Reckoning feels similar to it.
I would want some coherence.
Yeah.
The maybe the 2 best characters were Shea Wiggum and the Greg Davis guy. Those guys were I love Shea Wiggum as
love Shea Wiggum.
Just fantastic.
Yeah, he's awesome. And I think there's obviously some history there between him and Ethan Hunt that we don't know about. I wonder if he's connected to the flashback, because we get the beginning of the movie, is this personal or whatever, Tarzan says to him. But there's some clearly hints of there is some personal connection between the two of them, even if he doesn't know Ethan personally.
Right. Like he's been on the hunt for him for a while.
Yeah, but even if there's not, like it's so. I mean, it'd be fine either way.
He had a good character arc in this film too.
Great in the role. I mean, he's just doing his job, and he was well written, and he performed the crap out of it. Really fun. And I think almost all the humor lands, and that's the thing that I recently did the rewatch of the 3 before 4, 5, and 6. Or the first. That wasn't a rewatch. That was my first watch of those over the last week or so. And the humor almost always works in these things. And the big humor moment was him parachuting into the train and saving her at the last minute, which we would complain about in so many other contexts as being, just stupid and real overly convenient and all that. But it worked pretty good. And it's kind of in line with the way where they truthfully say, look, almost everything you've done here has been luck, and you've backed into it, and you've succeeded despite yourselves, and it's just
Mission Impossible.
Yeah. Grace is wondering about a plan, and they come up with like a tiny plan, and they're like, the details just get in the way. You'll learn.
It'll happen if it happens.
Sometimes you do watch the earlier Mission Impossible movies, and you go, this isn't impossible. But with some of this more recent stuff, you're like, yeah, this is kind of impossible.
It's
for the average person for not Ethan Hunt.
You couldn't plan the things that they're doing. I mean, it's what was I gonna say? Oh dang it! It slipped my mind. Go ahead. I had something, but then it slipped my mind.
I mean, I could talk about a million things.
That's what it was. Lorne Balfe. The score was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
The score was really good in this.
I think he hit with Fallout. He hit with Top Gun Maverick, which he mostly did an homage to the original, but brought his own flair as well.
The different ways that he blends that the Mission Impossible theme into it's so good.
The mission theme and the plot theme, which is also a prominent theme in the Mission Impossible series.
He did well. He did well with that the legacy theme in Maverick also. I mean, it was used at to its maximum effect.
Yes, it
everywhere
was.
that he used it.
It was.
Which you'd like to see. You don't want just an absolute rehash of butchering of it or anything like that, but a real homage and respect for it. And that's kind of where this guy lands for me. He works great in that where you've got to use it. He's hamstrung a little bit, but you've got to use this theme. You've got to work around it, and everything has to sound like it's all part of the same score too. So you've got to incorporate it real effectively. But he's done great with Maverick and now Mission Impossible.
And Ted's right here. I mean, because they did that in No Time to Die really well. Zimmer incorporated the old Bond stuff really well in that.
Look, I don't know if that's correct. Not what you're saying. But the thing I'm thinking right now, No.
Yeah, Mikey, shut it.
No.
How dare you?
I'm thinking a thought in my head, and I said I don't think that's correct. But
Garrison, shut it.
Lorne feels like he comes from the field of Zimmer, but I think at this point, modern Zimmer, aside from the Dune stuff, I think Lorne's doing it better right now.
I don't think modern Zimmer's that good.
Oh, come on.
Zimmer
besides Dune.
I think he peaked
Zimmer
with the Buggles.
The what?
Wasn't he playing synth on the with the Buggles on
I think he was actually.
First video,
now look, I think Zimmer.
I think he peaked it with Lion King for real.
Yeah. No, Zimmer in No Time to Die. That was a good score. That was that was a really good score.
Yeah. He was brought in last second to do a very last second score, and it's good classic Bond. That's probably the best part about it.
Hey, he's doing the score for the creator, and I'm here for it.
That's awesome.
Because that'll be completely original. So
the only thing I don't like about his Dune scores is that I can't listen to them. Like with Balfe stuff, I can put it on in the car and I'm like,
Balfe,
I kind of want to drive 100 miles an hour right now.
Right. Yeah.
I was going to bring something about kind of the Bond comparison as well. At least rewatching 1 and 2 and this one, I kind of forget. I don't know if he does it in 3 through whatever we're up to. But he's a suave dude and he kind of gets the chicks.
And
no, Cruise.
Two. Okay, 2.
But in 1 he does the same type of thing.
He gets Phelps's girl. Yeah.
He's flirty.
But
flirty,
he's way flirtier than I remember.
2, he literally turns into a James Bond clone. So that's and no other version of his character ever does that ever again. So,
but he's very flirty with Haley Atwell. He's very flirty with Rebecca Ferguson.
I agree. Although I felt like Haley may have been the first female co-star of his that I actually didn't feel like they had romantic tension at the end.
At the end, no, but at the beginning and kind of throughout, as they're building their relationship. When he
grabs her by the waist. And,
But
I thought that was just, he was also playing a little bit of a part. I mean, he was trying to sucker her in. So I don't think he had any designs other than...
The best scene, the hottest scene, was the balcony scene with him and Rebecca Ferguson. That was just... I loved that scene because it was just... you could tell that there was history between the two characters.
When she puts her head on his shoulder?
Yeah, it's so intimate. I mean, it's just, I love that scene.
The light hand holding.
I've never been in Venice before.
Yes.
Right. Because, you're right, Michael, because they did not sexualize that.
Right.
Their relationship very, very much at all.
That's a huge thing that McQuarrie has tried to never do. In fact, they shot a kiss for Fallout, and they decided it didn't work and cut it from the film.
Well, I saw a quote from Ferguson a while back, who she said, "You know what? That we could have them snog in this movie, but nobody cares about that. Like, nobody wants to see that. We've seen that before. That's That's the easy way to show that they like each other.
And like
it showed it in another way. And I really
did you see the end of that quote though?
Nah, I don't remember, but
she was like, "I do like Snog and Tom though," which is why we have the scenes we had to cut out again.
I think the other part with the few sexualized stuff is that it brings more weight to the Ethan Hunt character, and that like he really does have the kind of weight of the world on his shoulders, and like he doesn't like he's purposely keeping these people like not at arm's length because he's going to do anything he can to save them, but like for their sake, he's not going to like marry them.
Well, he did marry. He married Julia.
Yeah, he did marry Julia.
And in marrying Julia, he learned a big lesson, which was he can't marry anyone because that person will die. I mean, that's the speech you get at the end with Kittredge. Which is if they get
we haven't talked about Kittredge yet.
Right.
If they get too close to you, they'll be put in danger. The closer they get, and it's a very Peter Parker thing. Yeah. It's a very heroic trope.
I like that they removed her from the board in the last movie, right? In Fallout, they took Julia off.
She's
married. She's happy.
Send off.
Yeah, and then so that frees us to. So now there was tension between him and Rebecca Ferguson's character before, but it was a little bit hands off because he had not closed. He had not had a point of closure over Julia, and he had that now. So now you can see in this movie that they do have a bit of a relationship somehow.
And I'll be honest, I thought Rebecca Ferguson died in that first scene.
Oh yeah.
I thought she was actually dead.
Yeah,
I'll be quite honest. I heard there was a divisive scene in the film that would make fans upset, and so I went, "Oh, does like Ilsa die or something?" And then I saw some people speculating, "Oh, does Ilsa die?" And then, when we got to the film and she died at the beginning, I was like, "Oh, if that's actually how she died, that sucks."
Yeah, she didn't really get a good send off. If that's
I was like,
actually
"Damn,
how she
Dune
died.
Part 2 is a terrible, like long shoot," and Dune 1.
I did hear that she might have wanted out of the series, and maybe that's why there was a lot of weight into killing her.
I thought, there have been some people actually upset over her death scene. If we want to get into that, I thought she went out. I thought she went out really well, and she went out like a badass.
I thought it was a good fight scene.
She had a great fight with Gabriel. She gave it her all. She got injured, which hurt her balance in the fight, which is important in that kind of fight.
Lost. And it's like it was a powerful female character that no man in the cast had to be torn down to elevate her, and then she lost anyway.
And Tom Cruise, Ethan Hunt also lost, and that elevated the villain to be like, oh no, this villain does understand that, it can predict what's.
And I'll say one thing about the villain. You talk about elevating a villain. I meant to say this earlier. It's a little bit. The moment may have passed now, but the AI, you at the beginning of movies, a lot of times you have to do your villain needs to do something just diabolical, just over the top evil, kill a dog or something, like do something real bad so you can say, oh man, that guy's evil. In this,
we want him to die.
Yeah, but because in this case they didn't have to do that. They killed Russians, which we don't like Russians anyway. But you understood contextually what the threat was because we have real world analogs for it. We understand even more than the threat of losing your electronic identity and secrets to something.
Pretty evil. Yeah.
They went further
and are afraid of this thing.
They went further and said it broke into everything and didn't do
anything.
That's way creepier and way scarier than.
It said I'll be back.
Kicking a puppy.
Yeah.
If we get to the lesson learned by Ethan after Ilsa's death, I think there's some really good writing in there. In the sense that at the beginning of the film, he does not accept, and he straight up says, "I don't accept." Any of you guys losing your life on this mission.
Yes.
And Luther's saying this mission can't be bigger than our lives. He says our lives can't be bigger than the mission. Sorry, that's what it is. Yeah. And Ethan says I can't accept that, which it's a classic hero thing. But when he loses Ilsa, before we lose Ilsa at the party, Grace is told that he said, Gabriel says Ethan's going to tell you that he's going to protect you, and are you really going to believe him when he says that? When we finally lose Ilsa, we get to the moment where Ethan is going to say, I'm going to protect you. And he says, no, I can't say I promise that I'm going to protect you, but I can promise you that if you join our team, essentially, that your life will matter more to me than my own.
That was a powerful scene, too. Kind of gave me
there's a lot of powerful moments.
Gave me the chills when you just repeated it.
She starts tearing up, which, I mean, Haley Atwell is a hell of a performer in this.
She's good.
I mean,
she's good.
She's given it her all. This may be her best performance I've seen on screen.
Well, I mean, and she said she's been at this for like 17 years. She said in an interview, and this is the first role that she's had in those 17 years that is a role that doesn't just make her the female whatever. It's a little bit different type of role for her,
It's a well-written, it's not underwritten. There's that joke from the Parks and Rec filibuster. The female part's a little underwritten. I didn't get that out of any of the female characters in this movie. I thought they were really well done.
Vanessa Kirby, fantastic.
We haven't talked about her yet either.
Very little of her own character, but when she when she is Haley Atwell playing herself, she's brilliant. I think that's Haley Atwell underneath of Vanessa Kirby mask.
It felt like Haley Atwell in them. Yes, that's good stuff.
She's good in this too.
Yeah, why can't they all be good like this? Why can't
every movie
with the prestige and the long storied history and the easy access to money and the best in Hollywood, like an Indiana Jones, why can't it do something like this? Why can't it be this?
Why can't Star Wars be this?
Why can't Star Wars
different people involved? I mean, look,
is it agenda? Is it because they are building around an agenda where it's this one is trying to entertain you?
I think the difference is this one, the people involved aren't afraid of the agenda. They are not afraid of not following it.
No.
They're not afraid of not following
it.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah. That's probably right. That's probably right.
And also for public perception wise, this is kind of a little in a different area, but Tom Cruise learned his lesson about saying stupid stuff a long time ago in the media.
He knows when to shut up now. I mean,
now all he does is talk about how awesome movies are and how awesome
how he makes
and that's all he ever needs to do for the rest of his career is just talk about how awesome movies are and how he wants to see every movie on the biggest screen. How he likes to eat popcorn while he's watching movies.
Watches a movie a day, he says.
And he is making these for you. And he's clarified that movie a day comments to just say sometimes I put something on and I don't watch it fully.
Well, he was much younger when he said that. I mean, he was talking about when he was young and his friends would go watch movies too.
Yeah.
So why is the box office a little soft?
Yeah, I mean, and I was wondering that too.
It's not Garrison's fault. He's doing his part.
He's doing his part for sure. And maybe I need to be doing my part more. I mean,
I will say this. It got an A cinema score, which is good. It means that the general audience is big fans of Mission Impossible, really like the film. I think the thing is, it's a seventh film in a franchise, and the last film was great. So I don't fully know why this film is so soft. There's a lot of competition this summer. I do think Barbie and Oppenheimer opening next week
is bad for Mission Impossible.
I think it is in the sense that sometimes people go, I don't want to go every weekend. In summer, it's a little different. But I do think it affects it enough that you get a little bit of a drop off. I think, I do think Sound of Freedom is a slight demo overlap.
That's having a demo overlap also.
And so that takes away some of the money from Mission a little bit. It's not a gigantic amount, but it's
here's what Mission does have going. Yeah, here's what Mission does have going for it though. Most people are only going to see Oppenheimer once, and so after this weekend, you're not going to have a lot, and I don't even think you're going to have a lot of people seeing Barbie multiple times. I think you're going to have the opportunity for Mission Impossible if Paramount will leave it in theaters for it to have legs.
Well, it's already confirmed at least a 90-day window, which is good.
Yeah.
It could be longer because Top Gun Maverick was 120-day, and they left it off of VOD and streaming for longer than that because
that's what they need to do. They need to don't make it so available. Make people have to go to the theater.
It'll show up on Paramount Plus before
Top Gun didn't.
I will say, weekend-wise,
it did eventually, but it
was not fast though. It didn't show up on Paramount. No,
it was a while.
It's not like it used to be, where it was a year before a home release.
Right.
No, it was months. We're talking months.
I read it was more like pre-pandemic almost.
It was pre-pandemic.
That's fine. But you know that I'm a Paramount Plus subscriber because I like Yellowstone and all of that crap. I know. I just saw all 6 of the other Mission Impossible that show up on every time I log in. Every time I pull up Paramount Plus, they tell me to watch them.
Okay, I really want to answer this.
Does that affect a viewer? Did they say, "Well, I know this is going to be here eventually. I can write it out"? Or the Paramount?
This is super important. Barbie is absolutely not a kids movie, and it has a major agenda. So look that up. Find out what the agenda is, and find out if you're okay with it. If you're okay with it, then maybe you can go see it with maybe like a 13-year-old or something. I don't know.
And it might have the biggest opening of the year.
And it will. It will, because people don't know what they're getting themselves into, but it has a major agenda, and that's all I'll say about it. Look, I'm going to see it. I mean, but just because I've heard Ryan Gosling is actually freaking amazing in the movie and kind of steals the movie, but everything around him is very agenda driven. So.
I'm only going to see it because of the Barbenheimer meme.
And that's really smart marketing on their part. Whoever came up, because that wasn't on the Paramount side.
That was just a fan,
or I mean,
the fan
not the
thing.
Paramount side, but the Universal side. But
that was just a fan thing, and that was not Warner Brothers side either. Warner, look, let's be very honest about this. Warner absolutely did not want Oppenheimer to also get people going to it on its weekend because Warner didn't want Nolan successful with Universal, and Warner also. Publicly is trying to pull him back to Warner Brothers. We know that Zaslav has had several meetings with him to try and bring him back. So it's
yeah. Look, I mean, we seriously could go on for hours about Mission Impossible. But like I said,
I still have way more to say.
I want to go watch a movie. Maybe we'll do another episode on it. I mean, we've got some more time. I need to see it some more. I need to see it again, probably.
Go support these films if you really want.
I know. I need to see it again and actually pay money for it instead of A+ membership or A-list membership.
Well, they still get money. You get money for that. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's I don't know how that works, but I mean, yeah, they probably get some of it. But
I mean, they still have to pay. The theater still has to pay the ticket price for whatever ticket you got.
Yeah. Or the portion that the studio gets of opening weekend ticket.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. So, but I do want to see it again. It's unfortunate that it's going to be gone from IMAX, but maybe I'll find another format, another premium screen.
Could it go back?
It may go back up to IMAX, but also look, as long as it's on one of the nicer non-IMAX screens too, those are still good theaters.
Yeah, I mean, I just here in Birmingham at least, if it goes to a theater that's not a premium screen though. Like there's multiple premium screens that AMC has. If it goes to one that's not premium screen, they don't take care of them. They don't replace the bulbs.
Yeah.
They don't.
No, I know what you mean.
It just gets. They only really put all their money into making sure that the premium screen's the best experience, and everything else around it, you're throwing darts if you're going to get in a good theater or not. But I do want to see it one more time because it was probably my favorite experience this summer so far. I would say. I mean, Across the Spider-Verse is really good, but it's a cartoon.
Different.
Animation is a medium.
I really respect Across the Spider-Verse, and I love a lot about it. There's some things I don't love as much, and I mean, I'll full-fledged say this may be on my lower bottom of Mission Impossible movies, but I still love it. I mean, like,
it's still good.
Fallout to me was peak Mission Impossible for myself.
That movie is so good.
For myself.
Yeah, I like this one better. I thought the helicopter stuff got a little indulgent.
But for me, I mean, my Mission Impossible, I literally have had Mission Impossible rankings since 2018, but they're so close together that there's only one big gap, and that is really the gap between 3 and 2 at the bottom.
Sure.
He's rough.
Sorry, Aussie Nate. 2 is not the best Mission Impossible film. It's. Just
I was
not.
literally falling asleep in the climax.
It's so. Yeah, how can something so like that's supposed to look so cool be so boring? I know
That's John Woo.
Sorry,
Sometimes,
yeah.
sometimes John Woo is.
Yeah, that film needed more Nick Cage for sure. Yeah. Instead
every
of
every film does.
Doug
Ray Scott.
replace him. Yeah.
Yeah, Doug Ray Scott. Exactly.
There's your problem.
Ever
Yeah.
after. All
Nick
right,
Cage
guys.
as an MI villain would be great.
Ooh,
Yes.
that'd be crazy. Hey, we've got Sympathy for the Devil coming out with Nick Cage, and he looks insane in that movie. So that'll be a fun one to watch. Garrison, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me at GRyphon3 on Twitter, Instagram, and the Threads app that I don't use at all. I just kind of bookmarked my name basically, or whatever you call that, where you grab your username.
Grab your username. Yeah.
Yeah. You can find me on Letterboxd at GRyphon. I'm here Tuesday nights, here some Thursday nights, and that's about it. I can't always see the chat because I'm on the iPad right now, but Renfield's 0 out of 10. Nice.
How dare you, Brian?
And I'm excited to see what the Entity does next.
I know
the next film.
It's gonna be awesome. Roth, I will say that I'm disappointed in what happened with Green Room because I think that's a better movie than you guys. Not Green. Yeah. No. Wait. Yeah. Green Room. I always get that and Green Book mixed up, but Green Room is better than you guys made it out to be. But I can understand Sage's problem with it. I get it. But it's I just love that director. Look up all that director's stuff. Blue Ruin is really a good revenge movie and needs to be watched by everybody. And that's that guy's first movie. But anyways, go ahead. You plug your stuff.
Yeah, horror is just not my genre. I find most of it dumb. Not scary, but just
most of it is.
Just like,
you're right. Yeah.
But yeah, good day for a movie podcast. The last podcast was on Green Room. Our next one is going to be on Oppenheimer. So very excited for that.
Wait, Sage is going to see. Oh, that's right. That's right. He did say he was going to go.
We gave him the choice, Barbie or Oppenheimer.
It changed people's lives.
He said, "I do not want to go party, Barbie."
Wow.
He's not a Barbie girl.
He's choosing Oppenheimer over Barbie, and he knows Oppenheimer's 3 hours and 9 seconds.
He is a big Christopher Nolan fan, so
as you should be.
Yep. Roth from Wyoming on the other socials. Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, not on Threads. We'll never be on Threads.
I'll never be on Threads either, unless I like accidentally.
Garrison, just tilt your when you had it close to your face, Dutch angle it.
Dutch angle.
There we go.
Nice.
There we go.
Roth will be on Truth before he's on Threads.
Oh, I'm already on Truth Social.
Okay,
Roth from Wyoming on Truth Social as well.
I'm not on Truth either. I'm so simple. I just like the Twitter and the Facebook and the Instagram. I can't do anything.
To be honest,
the
Truth Social probably has a little cloud that says it's been removed from your phone because I haven't used it in 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
And the FBI probably got your information from it already. So
he doesn't care. He doesn't.
Nah, they've already got it. I'm not worried.
You weren't a part of anything. So.
Well, that's true.
Rhett, do you want people to find you anywhere?
On January 6th.
I've been thinking about this Entity, so I'm going to take this computer and Ron Swanson it into a dumpster here in just a minute.
He still will find you. Your obsession with iPhones, the Entity will always have access.
Throw it in the trash.
Yeah, throw it to the sun. Launch it into the sun. We will be back next Tuesday for the penultimate episode of Secret Invasion. And it could probably be the Oppenheimer episode as well.
That's overstating it.
You can also, by the way, I'm sorry.
You
can also, by the way, catch me on tomorrow's Deucecast episode.
Oh, that's right. Yes, of course. How could I forget that?
Best 1, 2, 3 actor punches.
The 1, 2, 3 actor punches. It was a fun episode. I had
3 consecutive good rolls.
Yeah, 3 consecutive good rolls, basically.
Tom Hanks.
No, yeah, that's the exact one. Spoiler alert, Dave does like 12 or 14 movies in a row with Tom Hanks.
It's pretty true. Like
it is pretty true. I was doubting it. Spoiler alert, I was doubting it most of the episode, and then he listed all the movies out, and I was like, all right, you got a point.
He had a pretty good run until he got stuck with Dan Brown.
Yeah, Dan Brown messes that up quite a bit, but
those movies suck.
The chat was fun as always. We had Andrew, Brian, Ted, some guy named Roth was in there for a little while. It was a fun chat as always. Really appreciate you guys hanging out with us live. Makes it much more fun for us. Look, we are really close to 100. I sort of had given up on it. But we're at like 97 now. If you guys could just like, if you're watching this, just subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything to subscribe to this on YouTube. Just give us. I just want to get to 100. That's all I want to do. And if you've got like multiple accounts, like multiple Gmail accounts, log into YouTube that way and subscribe that way.
I have two accounts on one Gmail.
Yeah, exactly. Like get us to 100. If I had more accounts, I would do it on my own, but I don't. So I'm not there. But we'll definitely be back next week. I really appreciate you guys hanging out live. And if you're watching this delayed, throw a comment in there. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, clickbait title Secret Invasion Ep4. We hooked you with that so we could talk about Mission Impossible. You've got quite the Mission Impossible wardrobe, Garrison.
Oh yes,
and
I
I'm
do.
sure there's more to come. So
talk to you guys. Willie Nelson shirt
later. Oh, nice. I got a Jaws replica of the original cast shirt. Yeah,
nice.
Looks pretty good. It looks pretty cool. So all right, see you guys next week, next Tuesday.